One of you asked me the question, how did I get started in product photography? And I realized that I haven't really told much of my story on this channel. And so this is what this video is going to be. I'm going to tell you about the biggest event of my life that pushed me into photography, the things that I did when I started my business, and what the future is starting to look like. It was February 2017, and I got made redundant from my job. Now, when people get made redundant, it's a very shitty time. And for me, it hit a little bit closer to home. And there are some details that I cannot talk about, unfortunately. But to give you a little bit of an idea, I basically witnessed a hostile takeover in the company that I worked for. And it was an extremely confronting experience. And the way that it happened was we were told to go on a week's paid leave while they sort their shit out. And it was the Friday at the end of my week's leave. And I get a text message and it says, come in 8 a.m. Monday morning, you can bring a support person if you wish. And when they say bring a support person, it's bye-bye for you. So I go in Monday morning and what do you know, being made redundant. There was a whole lot of lies and betrayal in this situation. And that's why I say this redundancy was a little bit more confronting, because it opened me up to a world full of power and greed. This was at a whole other level of business, and I never want to experience that again. And so as you can imagine, being made redundant, you feel incredibly low. Your whole income is just taken away from you. And that is why I think that working for somebody else is actually not secure as we think. Because if something happens and shit hits the fan, the business comes first, you come second, and people aren't going to care about your feelings. Maybe they sympathize with you, but at the end of the day, you are number two. And that's what this experience taught me, was that even though I was working for somebody else, I was not stable. My income, and therefore my life, was controlled by somebody else. And it was from that moment onwards that I was like, I'm gonna go build a business of my own, because I never want to feel like this ever again. And so for the 3 months after, I was doing countless interviews, trying to find a new job. Eventually, I landed a job. Wasn't my dream job. It paid me $50K a year, and it was just your regular old admin job. Now, during this time, I actually had an online career in finance blog. Now, I have a master's in finance, so that's where that part of it comes from for me. And so for the blog, we had an Instagram, we had blog posts, and I knew that we had to have photos, right? And so you obviously have your stock photos, but I was like, I want to be original. I want to have photos that people can't see anywhere else. And what I would do is I would take random objects in my bedroom and I would just start arranging them into a photo. And I would take a photo with my Samsung, I think S3 I had at the time. And these are some of the photos that I took way back when. So you can see they're pretty shit. But this was the start of everything. And so during this 3 months, being unemployed, I was bored. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go out and buy a camera. And this was an uncomfortable decision because I wasn't earning any money, yet here I was going out spending $1,000 on a camera. And so I started learning how to use my camera. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, there are so many possibilities. Let's do this. And so June 2017 is officially when I registered my business. And my old business name, I cringe at it so fucking hard. It was called Plush Content Co. And I had this vision of building a stock photo membership for female entrepreneurs, because back then stock photos were trending. They were the thing. They were something you saw everywhere, all over Instagram. They were the thing that people wanted to post, the thing that people wanted to look at. And so I bought this really shitty lighting kit from eBay, like that $90 lighting kit with the soft boxes, low wattage bulbs. And I was like, okay, I've got some lighting, let's do this. The lighting was just so shit. I was like, this is not working. And I found out I just wasn't passionate about stock photography because there was no hero subject. There was no real purpose in these photos. And during this time, I was following a lot of bloggers. They were all pretty much based in Europe because that's where the blogging industry was gaining a lot of popularity. And I would see these people creating these really beautiful photos promoting products. And I was like, that's fucking cool. I want to do that. That looks like a heap of fun. What do you mean people can get paid to do this? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and build an Instagram following. And I did engagement pods and all that stuff. And I was like, this is hard. Like, it was so hard to get over just 1,000 followers. And I was like, this is getting me nowhere. So I was like, okay, it's too hard to build a social media following for me to work with brands. What if I became a product photographer? I don't need a social following. I just need to present myself as a product photographer. And that's what I did. And so at the end of 2017, I had taken a day off work because I was going to do a drug test for a new job. It was just protocol. And so I hopped inside a couple of business Facebook groups and I said, I will take 5 photos for you for free in exchange for a testimonial. And I got over 100 comments on these posts. And I was sitting on my computer all day organizing these collaborations, organizing for people to send me their product so we can get started. And so in the span of like 3 to 4 months, I did about 30 collaborations, which is probably a little overkill. But during this process, I learned so many things about how to work with a client. I was practicing taking photos, and at the end of those collaborations, some of those brands loved their photos so much that they wanted to pay me to take more. Now, these were all very small brands. And so when you start out as a product photographer, you're most likely targeting small brands because your experience matches their budget. So the more experience you gain, the better quality photo you can produce, the higher price you can charge, therefore the higher budget client you can attract. That's kind of the progression of growth in this industry. Now, this was at the start of 2018. I was still working in a full-time job, so I would spend my weekends taking the photos. And amongst all of that, what I was doing is I was focusing on building relationships. I don't kid you. I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning because I had to be at work by 7:30. And I would get on Instagram and I would simply network, engage with brands, find new brands to connect with, talk to them, like comment on their posts. Because if there's one thing that I have learned from all of my past jobs, it's that building relationships builds business. And that is the statement that I hold true for myself and my business right to this day. If you can focus on building a relationship with someone, if you can get them to like you, to trust you, to be confident in you and your service, who do you think they're gonna hire? You or someone else who doesn't do any of that? They're gonna hire you. They're gonna hire the person who they like, who they enjoy working with. That is business. And that is how you build loyalty with long-term clients as well. So I'm still working full-time in finance, and I find myself working in quite a toxic work environment. So just before my probation period ended, I put in my notice. I was like, due to very personal circumstances, I need to leave next week. I couldn't really say the reason why because it was pretty much because of my boss that I wanted to leave. And so again, that was another confronting experience for me to go through to deal with that situation. But what I did was I made the transition from full-time to part-time because I knew that if I wanted to grow my business, I needed more time, but I also needed money to pay my bills. And so I went and got a part-time job working for a global fitness brand. And their headquarters are based in Queensland here, and I went to work in their head office as a wholesale administrator. So I was working 3 days a week, which gave me so much more time to work on my business. And by having more time, yes, I saw my business grow and I was able to earn more. So if you are someone who is working full-time and you want to do product photography, I really do recommend look at your options. Can you go part-time, even if that means changing jobs, because it's going to allow you to gain more time back for you to focus on the things that you're actually super passionate about, which is your business. And by making this transition from full-time to part-time, one, you don't have the financial pressure because you're still earning money to pay your bills. And two, you've unlocked more time in your day. And it was about 4 months later that I then got fired from my part-time job. So you can see I'm pretty unlucky when it comes to working for other people. Now again, getting fired, it's a shitty situation, but for me, this was one of the best things that ever happened because it forced me to go full-time in my business. And around this time, it was December 2018, I was already putting out there, I reckon I reckon I could go full time. Like, I really want this to happen. I'm earning like 2.5K a month. Like, things are moving along. But I was so scared to leave, even though I didn't really like the job, even though I felt like I was ready to piss off. I couldn't bring myself to voluntarily quit because that's uncomfortable and it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. And so I'm not surprised that I got fired. And honestly, I didn't really do anything wrong. I could have fought my dismissal because it was so ridiculous, the grounds that I got fired on, that I could have fought it and kept my job. And I honestly believe the universe conspires with us. If we put something out there that we want, it might throw something back at you that, ooh, you're like, don't like this. This is uncomfortable. This is hard. It's a test. It's testing you to get through this time of adversity that's going to eventually lead to the thing that you want. And in both of the situations of being made redundant and being fired, at the time, I couldn't quite see the light at the end of the tunnel. But looking back, I'm like, yeah, those things were totally meant to happen. And if those things didn't happen, I would not be here. I wouldn't be earning multiple six figures in my business. I literally earn 10 times more per year in my own business, on my own time, managing my own schedule, doing shit that I actually love, than when I was working for someone else in a shitty work environment in a job that I hated. Like, life is so much better now. But I had to go through those times of adversity to get me here. And it's how we hold ourselves in times of discomfort, to know and trust that these things are meant to happen for us. And it tests our resilience. It tests how much we want something. And I promise you, any discomfort that you feel in your life, in your business, know that this is meant to be for you right now. Because on the other side, something amazing is going to happen. And so I got fired in December 2018. And in March 2019, I had my first $10,000 month and I booked my dream client working for the Crowne Plaza. Like, what the fuck? I was just like, how is this my life? And that 10K month, that dream client, all resulted in me keeping extreme focus on what I wanted and building relationships. So that is my story of how I got started in product photography. I never wanted to be a photographer. This wasn't something that I'd ever considered as a job, but here we are. And I just want to emphasize, it took me just over a year to go full time in my business. So if you're someone who, like, you've just started your product photography business and like maybe you're 2-3 months in, you're like, ugh, why isn't anything happening? Why aren't I booking clients? Things are not going to happen in the span of 2 months. You are not going to be booked out in the span of 2 months if you start in your business. You have to be in this for the long game, and you have to be obsessed and passionate about this industry to make it in this industry. And the one thing that you really have to work on in the beginning are two things. The quality of your work. Like, you just have to practice. You have to get behind your camera and you have to experiment and try. You have to keep trying until someone likes your photo and wants to hire you for it. And the other transition that I will quickly mention as well was I started shooting in the corner of my bedroom using natural light, and my windows were freaking tinted blue. So therefore, all my photos had this like blue tint, which I didn't know how to get rid of because I didn't have Photoshop knowledge at the time. And back in 2017, 2018, there wasn't any education on product photography per se. There wasn't any like course you could buy that was like, here's everything you need to know about product photography. Here's a roadmap that will get you from A to B if you apply yourself. Everything is literally in this one space. That wasn't available. And so I had to spend hours trying to search things on YouTube, trying to Google things, only to find that sometimes the answers just weren't there or the answers weren't that clear. And yeah, that was really frustrating, especially on the business side of product photography. Oh my goodness, how do you draw up a contract? How do you price your work? What the fuck is licensing and how do you calculate it? How do you do pre-production? How do you edit photos to make them look so clean and beautiful? There wasn't anything out there like that. So I had to navigate a lot of these things myself. And so that's why I started building Become a Brand Photographer, because I realized that there are so many other people out there who, you know, are trying to start their product photography career just like I did, but it's really hard to find answers to everything that you want to know in the one place. So now you know my backstory and how I got into this, but what is next? What does the next couple of years look like for me? Right now, I feel like I'm going through a season of change. I feel discomfort. My mindset is being tested on multiple things. My patience is being tested. So Alistair and I are working on a new business. It's been 2 years in the making, and it's testing our patience. And I can't mention anything else about that right now, but it's going to help so many photographers and videographers with their business. And we are just dying to get this out into the world. And of course, a new business comes with new territory, a new schedule. We have to take on less work. We have to adjust our prices. We have to adjust our day-to-day and the way that we do things. We're also finally moving into an apartment that we bought back in 2020. And with every place that I move to, it's always symbolized the next level for me. And this new place that we've bought really does symbolize that next level. And I don't know about you, but sometimes when you're in the same environment for too long, things start to get stale. You need a change of environment to have new ideas, to feel refreshed, to kind of recalibrate your energy. And that's kind of where we're sitting at the moment. Something else I've struggled with as well is my identity and letting go of me just being a product photographer, because I used to determine my success by how many photo shoots I had booked into my calendar. And because of all these other things that we've been doing, the course, coaching, new business, when your passions change, sometimes your identity needs a little bit of time to catch up. And so we need to start adjusting our definition of success and what that looks like in our life. And that definition will constantly evolve. And so ever since I've launched the course and I've introduced new coaching offers, group and one-on-one, I have discovered a new passion there. A passion that I feel like I need to pursue. Am I stopping product photography? No, that's still going to be a part of my life and my business, but it may not be the biggest part of my life and my business in the future. And so the moral of this part of the story is you have to continue to chase your passion. And if you are truly passionate about product photography, you're going to make this work. But if you're not passionate and you're not obsessed, things are always going to get in your way. You're always going to make excuses as to why you can't do something, as to why something's not working. It could be that the passion isn't quite there. Maybe there's something else that you're drawn to. And it's about exploring that passion. And your passions will evolve over time. And you have to have the courage to go with that passion and be open to exploring it. We have a lot of exciting things happening in our business and our lives over the next year. And right now I'm in a season where I have to hold my patience and I have to just kind of sit back a little bit and let things come to life. So I hope that you have gotten something out of my story. And if you are a new product photographer, honestly, my best advice to you is remain passionate about this industry. Practice as much as you can. Just practice your craft. Focus on building relationships and be patient because success doesn't happen overnight. It's not going to happen in 2 months. It's not going to happen in 3 months. I honestly would give yourself at least a year before you maybe rethink a couple of things as to, oh, is this working or not? And if you have any questions or takeaways, feel free to leave those in the comments. We can have a conversation. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.